I'm not sure why you're smiling.
To your viewing public. I think that I'm increasingly getting very troubled and worried for this country with how we go about our issues. Of course, the former CJ was removed from office in an unorthodox way. And unorthodox because we have a democracy that must ensure that it's upholding the rule of law, and no one that is heavily colored politically by an orientation of a political party. And I'm minded to state that this Fourth Republic is extremely still young, still fragile, and so when you have an opportunity to lead government as the president, you should be guided about certain decisions that you take, which with hindsight can become historical perspectives for things to happen. And I think that one of the things that the speaker stated in moving away from the decision of the minority was that he doesn't want history to remind us of interferences, really, of parliamentary involvement in judicial work. But clearly, the lines have been drawn. It would be good to see the vetting of the day. I'm very sure that he would distinguish himself. But we want to continually remind the state government that we should allow each of the arms of government to be independent, to exercise their mandate as is given to them by the 1992 Constitution without any interference whatsoever by a certain government. And I think that if we continue to do that, we would build a lot more trust, we would build a lot more confidence, we would have people repose all the wills that they have in all of these systems of governance.
The interference here, I'm not getting. You would agree that we need a substantive CJ. You have sat here and called for a substantive defense minister. So you would agree that as a country we need a substantive chief justice, not an acting chief justice.
Absolutely, and I did say that in my preliminary comments that yes, it's important that we have a chief justice. I mean, I don't run away from that at all.
Right.
But my caution really is the manner in which the former CJ was unorthodoxly removed from government or from her role as serving as the chief justice,
head of the judiciary,
which gives a bit of a dent, especially in the fragility of our democracy. And we must be minded by it that less than 40 years ago, Ghana was not in the Fourth Republic. We were under some status, which I don't want to remind Ghanaians of, but those who are aware of what I'm talking about. And so coming on the backbench of the history of where we have come from and the fragility of our democracy, which is still burdened and extremely very young, and with the constitutional committees that has been set in place for the review of some statuses in the committee, it would have been good for the sitting president to have been guided by such historical antecedents and paced his decision with the removal of the former CJ. But as it is, I mean, I'm sure that the acting CJ would pass his vetting. I'm certain that he would be sworn in. But it is important that in the discharge of his duties, he's guided about the independence of the judiciary and ensure that whatever cases that comes to the court, it is the judge that is on trial. When cases come to court, it's the judge that is on trial because you must prove the law, and we must be guided by the law and not be guided by any intrinsic motivation whatsoever.
Wonder, I kind of like Palgrave's choice of words. This is unorthodox because I was going to ask him if anything untoward was done with respect to the Constitution, but he chose unorthodox, so let's stay away from there.
Well, I think these are legal matters, and so I'll be a bit restrained, but I will state the position of the law in this regard. The removal of the Chief Justice, we are all aware the processes that brought that to bear, and so far we haven't had anybody question the legitimacy of the removal or the illegality that has been committed. We've had emotional outbursts, we've had people having divergent views and all that, but that is not the law. And if you want to go by her own dictum, the law remains the law. And if you take inspiration from Giela and Kassman in 1973, he established 3 grounds on which you can challenge a decision of this nature. One, he talks about you must show a prima facie evidence that is incontrovertible, that what has been done is illegal, is wrong, and that an injustice has been committed. 2, you must also show that there will be irreparable harm caused to the claimant, or in this case, the Chief Justice, if the process goes ahead. And finally, we have to look at what they call the balance of convenience. Now, in all of these 3 instances that I've mentioned, the first one, which I said prima facie, she has to establish that what was done was illegal, is wrong, illegitimate, and then cannot be a phantom. Number 2, irreparable harm. You must also prove to the court that if the processes go ahead and we're able to find an appointment, a new person appointed, it causes you harm. And the harm must also be put on what we call the balance of convenience.
Right.
So what does the state lose? If we don't have a Chief Justice, a whole state, sovereign state of, for that matter, doesn't have a Chief Justice, as against one man who will be losing your position. That will be the position of the judge.
Right.
Because it's going to be, what does the state lose? What do you lose? And if what you are losing, can there be a compensation for it? If the process even eventually turns out that it was wrong, we can compensate you. You lose nothing. Right. But for a whole state, for a sovereign nation like Ghana, as a country not to have a Chief Justice is more a difficult matter than your personal, position. Then the last one is what we call the balance of trade. So the balance of trade goes hand in hand with the irreparable harm that you want to. And if you look at, on the strength of the case, you'll find out that it doesn't wash. That's why it has been thrown out by the court before they are going ahead with the other. Because they tried to put an injunction which didn't work out. And Fenyomakin is just appealing to the emotions of parliamentarians and all that. We have been in this country that cases have been in court while Parliament went ahead to do their job. Because separation of powers tells us that the two of them are not coterminous. They don't, they may correlate, they may understand each other, they may work.
But they are independent arms.
They are independent arms of government. And the Parliament of Ghana is under no restriction by no parliament, no court of this country not to proceed with the vetting. And I think it's a call in the right direction. If things went wrong later, we discover that she was removed, wrongly by the same Supreme Court, there is a way to compensate her or amend some of these issues, and life will go on, as it were. But to leave that position vacant, and how long is the case going to be in court? So if we're in court for 5 years, Ghana doesn't have a Chief Justice because of one woman, one man out there. It cannot be. And so I think that we are proceeding very cautiously. I will be looking forward to see this vetting. I know the minority may stage a walkout or may not.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that. Coming events, they say cast their shadows.
They cast their shadows.
If you see how the posturing so far,
tells that
they don't
want to be part, but I don't have a problem with that. I wish they were part, or they would be part, because this Chief Justice is already 68 years old. He's likely to be in office for only 2 years, and a new one will be appointed. What do you stand to lose? What do you stand to gain as a party that has just left power a few months ago?
A long time.
No, you've just left power 2 months ago.
No, I'm referring to the CJ and the number of years he would have if he is indeed approved.
Okay,
before he leaves.
No, I agree. It is not even how long. Justice Georgina Wood was on the seat for how many years? We are talking about how many, 15 or so years, 11 or 12 years or what? I don't remember what it is. But we all stayed with that. We were in opposition with her. We came back to power with her. And even throughout the tenure, our tenure, she was still at post. So it cannot be that you want somebody that you are comfortable with and all that. It cannot be always our way. Political parties must learn the skill and the wisdom of working with people, even if they don't disagree. Listen, I tell people that this business about unity in Africa is just a waste of everybody's time. I always say that we don't need to be united, do anything. We only need unity of purpose. For instance, even in the Bible, when they were building the Tower of Babel, they didn't say they were united. The Bible said this thing the people have imagined to do, That means that they came together to do it, not because of unity, but they had a purpose, they had a goal. So unity without purpose is of no relevance in our daily doings and leadings and all that. And so I think that the NPP should be more concentrated on the issues of governance in this country, on the issues of law, on the issues of democracy, on the issues of bread and butter and all that. Then Ghanaians can begin to see them again as one political party that is serious enough, that is ready and prepared, perhaps waiting in opposition to one day ever come to the reins of power. But the antagonism, the late Dr. Amanibu Ama used to have a very constant refrain, and he said that it's organize and don't antagonize. Organize, don't agonize. So I take inspiration from that, and I think the MVP should take inspiration from that and learn to work with people. It cannot be the case that everybody must pander to your whims and caprices at all times. It cannot be the case that everybody must be at your beck and call. It cannot be the case that everybody must be, and right even in the MPP, sometimes you can see that they hate dissenting opinion. In the days past, when you had the likes of Afoko, Sami Crab, you like the likes of Japan and all that, you see how they were hounded out of office. And almost everybody who speaks their mind in the MPP tends to be hounded for one reason or the other. Look at even their own, parliamentary elections at the moment, presidential primaries and all what is happening now. You speak your mind and they hound you out. You speak your mind now. You don't see that in the NDC. At least we tolerate. At least to a large extent, we are more tolerant a party than they are. Journalists even have to flee out of this country because of the MPP's understanding of politics and how it should be. It cannot be the case that once you are in power, everybody must pander to your whims and caprices. No doubt, almost all the state institutions have collapsed. I mean, many of them have been losing revenue, even to the tune of Bank of Ghana, which is one of the most strategic, one of the most formidable institutions in this country. We're even losing revenues and all that because everybody was just, pandering to the whims and caprices of one man out there who thinks that everything must go along their line. The economy also crashed because of one man. So they need to learn to accommodate dissenting opinion. They need to learn to work with people who don't necessarily agree with them. And they also need the wisdom and the understanding that governance is not all about how much I can take, but rather about how much we all bring to the table.
But if they believe in their position, should they necessarily...
I do not have a problem believing in your position, but don't make everybody look as though whatever was done was so wrong. Until the court makes a determination, what is your hurry? Why are you bundling all of us into the state that we should understand that this is how it should be? Because you have an opinion. Somebody also has an opinion. Would you accept that we all have opinion and then move on? Then we wait for the court system to bring out the fact. Now, all of a sudden, the MPP is against even the EC. Have you observed that? Their commentary, the public commentary lately has to do with that the EC is bogus, the EC is this. Few months ago, this is the party that was praising the same electoral commission. So it is becoming a practice where you see MPP people, once they are not in power, once they are not in charge, once they can't pull the strings, once they can't control, they think that everything is wrong. Then you ask a question. Does it mean that all along when you are in power, all these institutions were pandering to your whims and caprices? This is a question we've been asking when they were in power. We didn't get answers, but now we're beginning to get a glimpse of what was happening. That means that all along everybody was working according to your dictates. And now that you don't get that leverage again, then they are all bad. It cannot be. It cannot be.
Is that the case?
Well, I don't think that is the case. I think that we allowed the rule of law to work. I think that we were very transparent and open government for the Ghanaian people. I think that we were very collaborative and more cooperative with the Ghanaian people, and the legacies of President Boakye-Danquah Kufuor is clear and very evidential for the Ghanaian people to see.
No, I like your view. I do appreciate it.